Hi. I'm gonna attempt to make another video and try to make it as entertaining as I can, but as factual as I can. And there's a lot I didn't talk about in other videos, and I just didn't have time to do it. One of the things I would like to talk more about would be um, down the canal. And I went down there today and took some pictures just to jog my memory. And I'm going to scroll through some of them in here, and you could see maybe the area that people live in, and they completely enjoy where they live. And I like that area. It's always been dear to me. When we would take a trip down there, mom and daddy and myself, my brothers and sisters, it was like a holiday. I mean, we was going to meet people that we liked. Um, I want to hold back on saying names, but I'll use the titles of my relatives, and hopefully that's going to be good enough. Um, but I had an aunt, my grandma's sister, that we visited often. She lived in an old house, and um, it was immaculate, very clean. And I'm probably repeating myself, but it deserves repeating, I guarantee you. She was a nice lady. Um, she was my grandmother's sister, and my grandmother came from that area. And we'd go there and visit, and that was the first stop. And then across the street, her sister lived. We would visit her on the way out. We would go further down toward Lake Verret, and we'd visit with my grandmother's brother. And he was a kind old man, and he treated us very well. And it seemed to us that he welcomed the visit. Um, we would talk there to him for, well, mom and daddy would. Um, we were kids, of course, and we'd run around the yard or whatever we had to do. And when it was time to leave, we'd all go back in the car, and we'd go toward Lake Barrett at a place called Attakapaw Landing. And we'd turn around there, and we'd come back, and um, we'd go to my grandmother's other sister's house. And when we would pull up there, she would be coming out of the swamp. Uh, she did a lot of work on herself, and she did different things in the swamp, and I really don't know what, but she did a lot of things, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's going to join together pretty soon. And I took pictures of the Immaculate Conception Church. Um, there's a tomb on the looking in the front of it. It's on the left side, and when I was a boy, that tomb was empty, and it's kind of a funny little story, but when uh, mom and daddy would be visiting the graveyard and putting out flowers and cleaning graves and whatever they would do, I would crawl in that tomb and take a nap. And when mom and daddy would finish, they would come out, and of course they would resurrect me, and we'd get in the car and go down and visit our people down the road. And I have some pictures of that. You can see the graveyard in the back. Not clear, but you can't tell there's a graveyard behind the church. And then further down, I have some pictures of the swamp, and it's it's some especially good pictures for people that's not from around here. The people that's here, it's an everyday thing to see swamp and them living in the middle of the swamp and enjoying their life in the middle of the swamp. Um, Probably people from different parts of the country couldn't imagine enjoying yourself and living in the middle of a swamp. But this is something that they do, and and they really enjoyed it, and we enjoyed visiting them. Uh, well, in that little scroll that's gonna come up in a little bit is um, some pictures of swamp, cypress knees sticking up out of the water. You could see Lake Barrett, a part of it anyway, and it gives you some idea of what Louisiana is really like, what it was many years ago. Some of this some of this country is untouched by man, and it's like it was when the Acadians were dumped in the swamp. Look at that swamp, and that's where they were dumped in that kind of environment. And if it wouldn't have been for people like the Indians that helped them learn to live in this swampy land, and I'm not talking about Napoleonville. I'm talking about near New Orleans, where Acadian people were originally dumped in and abandoned, and then later they moved to different places in the state, and that's why all southern Louisiana is Acadian, Acadians as we say it, and it is very 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 interesting. And again, I'm going to say, if you ever come to Louisiana, visit the swamp, look at it, and see what you think of it. And there's wildlife of all kind there, deer, everything. It's truly sportsman's paradise. So I think I talked enough about Takapo Landing right now, and I'm the type that's going to jump back and forth, and hopefully it's going to be good. Because if you like one subject, you're gonna wait for it to come back. And there's um, there's something I had kind of touched on about Cajun people, and they they comical people, um, fun-loving people. Um, they love to be happy. Uh, if there's a choice to be happy or sad, they'll be happy, and there's a lot of people that go the other way. Um, I remember um, a little story that was told to me, and of course it's fictitious, but it's a funny thing. There was two little boys that was getting in all kind of trouble. Anything that happened in the neighborhood, these little boys had something to do with it. And one day a new priest moved in the neighborhood, and a young priest, and the mother of the two boys told their father, said, if it's okay with you, I'm going to go and talk to the priest, this new priest, and see if he could maybe talk to our boys and see if they can get them on the right track. So she did. She went over and spoke to the priest, and the priest told the priest about her boys, and that they was always in trouble. Nothing serious, but there was any kind of trouble that was involved in it. And the priest said, well, send one of them at a time. Send the youngest one first. And she did that. And the little young boy went, knocked on the door, and the priest invited him in. Went to his office, and the priest sat down in his chair, in his desk chair. And he said, sit down right there, boy. And the boy did, but he was nervous and looking around, and the priest eyed him up for a while. And the priest said, where is God? The little boy looked around. He looked on the side of the desk. He looked all around the room, but he didn't say nothing. He didn't say a thing. And the priest said, boy, I asked you, where is God? And again, the little boy didn't say nothing. He just kept looking around nervously. And all of a sudden, the priest hit the desk and said, I said, where is God? The little boy jumped up, ran out of the priest's house and across the street into his house, up the stairs, and ran to his bedroom. And he told his brother, he said, son, Johnny, Johnny said, what's the matter? He said, I don't know. But he said, God come up missing. They think we got something to do with it. So it's a little funny story I had heard, and I thought it would be worth saying. Um, there's something I would like to say, and we'll move on to something else. But um, when we was living in Grand Isle, we would come to um, Thibodeau to visit every weekend just about. And we come in on Friday nights and we'd stay till Sunday morning and we'd go back in time for Mass. Well, Mama was a great believer of the Bible, and the trip back and forth, she would read the Bible. And we were very small, but she would read stories out of the Bible, and um, then she would repeat these stories in, um, in grammar that we can understand. And it helped us to learn the Bible, and um, consequently, we all read the Bible, and all of my family do. Um, I'm not I'm not saying I'm more religious than anyone else, and I'm not. It's just the upbringing that I had. That was part of my life, and some things that happened during my lifetime. It caused me to really believe in God, and it reminds me of a story. Everybody knows Jesus caused the blind to see, caused the lame to walk. We know these things, and we have enough faith in God, because without enough faith in God, you won't believe this. Without enough faith in God, you can't believe that God gave God could take bread and turn it into the body of Christ, and wine and turn it into the blood of Christ. Although Jesus took water and turned it into wine, one step further and makes it blood. But anyway, you have to have a lot of faith to believe this could be happening, or God has the power to do this. So, one particular story I like is um, Saul. Saul was a Jew, and he was a tolerant. He hated Christians with a passion. He really did. He hated Jesus Christ, and he was a citizen of Rome. He was a Jew, but he was a citizen of Rome. And one night, Saul was on a trip to Damascus, and God struck him down and made him blind. And while he was down, Jesus Christ helped him. And he told Saul that someone's going to meet with him, and if he changed his ways and believed in Jesus Christ and believed in God, that his sight would be restored. And that did happen. His sight was restored, and he became a Christian. And he became a Christian, and his name was changed to Saint Paul, the Apostle Paul. So this was a man that was the lowest of the lowest and became the highest of the highest because of words from Jesus Christ. And I thought that was a good story, and that's the way my mom would tell me this story. Uh, we would sit in the back seat, listen to her read, and then she'd repeat it in a language we can understand. So Apostle Paul is one of my favorites. Um, he spoke three different languages. Um, he was a Jew, uh, and he spoke Arabic. He spoke Latin. Um, the Apostle Paul said, "I speak the language of the man. Now I speak the tongue of man, but I also speak the language of the angels." And he wrote all of his Gospels in Latin. Um, and that is a good story, and um, it shows the power of God. Sometime in a little bit, I'll tell you another thing about some angels, and I believe in angels. I love them. I believe in angels, and I'm going to try to explain how strong an angel is. beginning of this video, you're going to see a lady with an eagle on her arm. And that eagle, that picture of that eagle was taken at down the canal one day years ago. And then that lady was my wife, Mary. And we drove over to the dock after Tacaport Landing, and had her pose and stand on the wharf, and I had her put her arm out, bent elbows a little, and I took a picture. Then I went home and I cut the eagle out and I pasted it on her arm like the eagle was. So that picture you see is really alive, but it's a funny thing. I just wanted to put it on there. Put a little humor in this. It's kind of tall, but it was kind of funny. But I want to jump back, and I you know, in all the videos I jump from one thing to another. But I want to jump to Grand Isle. So we lived in Grand Isle, and there was a lot of things happening. And one thing I remember, and it was in the early 50s, maybe 49, 50, somewhere around there. But you can look over the Gulf and you see sometimes a little plane flying and pulling a target, a long banner looking target. And fighter planes would come and you'd hit a machine gun shooting at that target over the Gulf. And they'd dive at that little target and shoot at it. And I'm not exactly sure how the scoring went, but I was told that each plane had a different color bullet, and it would mark the target to see who missed and who hit it. But anyway, it's something that you're not going to see anymore. And when I was small, we could see that a couple of times a month, and it's something to remember. I don't know exactly where the planes came from. I'm thinking maybe New Orleans, Algiers, or someplace like that. But it was something that I remember. It was worth saying. Another thing I remember about Grand Isle and the Gulf was years ago when I was small. You could see pelicans flying over the Gulf, and it was flying a straight line formation, one right behind the other one, and from one end to the other, just an amazingly long line of pelicans. And when one would dip, the next one would dip, and every time a pelican would pass, he would dip, so it looked like a kind of ripple in a chain. But you don't see that many pelicans anymore, I guess. Inhabitants has taken nesting places, and I don't know what caused it, but they have pelicans, but not like they used to. So that was in my memories, and it's worth saying. There's a couple of religious things I'd like to say, and I apologize for keep going back on religion, but religion is very important. It doesn't make you weak. Matter of fact, it makes you strong. It doesn't make you a coward. Matter of fact, it makes you very brave. And it doesn't shame you in any way, shape, or form. Matter of fact, it makes you proud. I would tell you about angels because I believe in angels so much. There's so much we don't know, and I don't think nobody on earth knows the real stories about things that we know. But one story is Sodom and Gomorrah. It was a sinful city. Someone said that it took a man 3 days to walk through it. It's big. It took a man 3 days to walk through it, but it was sinful. There was prostitution, whatever. Well, God told Abraham that he would destroy Sodom and Gomorrah for the sinful ways that people lived. And Abraham said, God, if I could find 40 righteous people in Sodom and Gomorrah, would you spare the city for the sake of the 40? And God said, yes, I would. And he couldn't. He could find 40 people. And God said, if you find 30, I will spare the city for the sake of the 30. And Abraham still couldn't find 30. And he kept doing this till it was down to 10. So God told Abraham that he would destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. So it was probably over a period of time. And God sent 3 angels. And these 3 angels came uh, to the country, and Lot saw them. And in an effort, and he knew they were strangers, in an effort to make them feel welcome, he invited them in and washed their feet. And they did that in those days to visitors, because visitors walked through the burning sand of the desert, and their feet was hot and burning, and um, they washed their feet to cool it down and make them comfortable. And these 3 angels, they was at Lot's house, and he said some men, young men and old men, came and circled Lot's house and demanded that he gave those 3 people to them for the sake of sexual pleasures or whatever. And Lot said, no, you can't have them. I have daughters. If you want the daughters, I'll give you my daughters. But leave these people alone, because Lot already knew these were angels. And now I'm not completely clear, and I need to read it and make sure again, but I'm not completely clear if the angels dispersed these people or killed them or destroyed them or whatever. But anyway, the angels told Lot, take your family, your belongings, your animals, and leave this place. Sodom and Gomorrah will be destroyed. And they said, do not turn and look back, because if you do, you're going to be sorry for leaving, and that's why I don't want you to look back. So they did. They was leaving, and there was a terrible destruction going on. These 3 angels, possessing the powers of God, destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah and flattened it. And Lot's wife turned around to see, and she turned to a pillar of salt. And that's the story in the Bible. But it reminds me of how strong, how powerful an angel is. And believe me, angels exist. Well, when Jesus was on the cross, the Romans mocking him and telling him, they said, if you God, then come down off the cross. And Jesus looked down at him and said, I could summon 12 legions of angels. Can you imagine the power that would be released on the world? 12 legions of... A legion is, if I remember right, something like 1,000 to 1,500 soldiers. And God said, Jesus said, I could summon 12 legions of angels that could destroy the world, turn it to powder. I mean, the power that... Whew, if those 3 angels could destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and I guess in my mind I think of it as New York City kind of thing, that big. If 3 angels could destroy a city that size, what could 12 legions of angels do? And that's you need to think of it. And God doesn't punish you. God doesn't punish you. Your punishment and your rewards come after you've been born again. And but He does give you the ability and the right to make up your right mind, your own mind, good or evil. He has given you that ability. So, so God doesn't send people to cause harm to you. In the case of Solomon and Gomorrah, it had to be done. In the case of um, the flood, the great flood, that had to be done, and God did that. But He's got power in heaven that is unbelievable. I can't believe it myself. I mean, I try to, but I can't. I just know the power does exist. I have seen angels, and I know you're thinking maybe this is some kind of wacko talking to you, but I'm not. You know, um, I, um, I believe this as much as you can believe watching a movie and believe what you saw. Uh, there's things that happen to me, and I could go on and tell you and tell you and tell you, and there's no other way you can do but believe what I'm telling you. And it's something to think about. This video is not only for Christians. It's for anybody that loves somebody. And um, it's easy to love somebody and hate them. I uh I sometimes believe that maybe me telling these stories might make someone think that I'm some kind of a religious fanatic, or trying to be holier than thou, and I'm not, because I'm not holier than nobody. I promise you, I'm not holier than you and nobody else. I heard these stories, and I like these stories, and I feel these stories are very true, and that's why I'm telling you. Probably I'm telling you stories that you already know and that you think about, and you just don't say them out loud. The only difference is that I don't mind saying them out loud. Matter of fact, I like saying them out loud. It's uh, it's a truth that's in my mind, and I like to tell stories that relate to the greater honor and glory of God. Um, at one time, that's all we thought about was doing things for the greater honor and glory of God. But I wonder how much stuff has changed, and in an effort to satisfy people and not God. I hope that's not happening, but sometimes it appears that it does. And um, I want to tell you something that's it's not hard to say. I just want to make sure you believe I'm sincere by saying this. I want to say, God bless you. And I don't say it as a little phrase to say something. I say it because I truly want God to bless you. And I want Him to bless you. In nomine Pater, et Filio, et Spiritus Sanctus. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. I thank you for listening to me, and I hope that you listen through it all the way through. I, I, I don't know how good of a message it is, but it's a message the best I can do. And, you know, one other little bitty thing I'd like to say is, if you can imagine what the world would be like if every person would make a friend every day or every week, make an extra friend, a new friend, um, smile at somebody or wave at somebody or that you never waved at. Um, I like to have fun, and I like to joke around, and you can't do that if you have enemies. You can't do that. You don't even want to, but you do if you have friends. You want to joke with your friends and have fun with your friends, and um, they end up loving you and you love them. And if you could, try to make a friend. Every every time you think of it, try to make a friend, and it's easy to do. It's probably easier to make a friend than an enemy, because an enemy hurts you. Now, please do something for the greater honor and glory of God. And I thank you for listening, and I hope that you will uh, hit the like button and the subscribe button. And please, if you can think of it, give me some kind of comment, and I'll comment back to you. And this is all fun to me. I'm retired, and I enjoy doing this, and hopefully you'll enjoy listening to it. And I told a little joke today, and I like to tell jokes, and maybe I'll make a video with some jokes, and hopefully I can scrape up enough to do such a thing. But if you would please, when you say your prayers at night, think of me, and I will think of you, whoever you are. God bless you. Good night.